Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So thank you very much all for coming. Today we're gonna talk about mantra 5 and 6 of Sri Isopanisad. And let's dive right into it. So mantra 5, the Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. This is filled with contradictions, but it just highlights the fact that the Supreme Lord can do anything because he has inconceivable potencies. This seems like contradictions for us, but it's not for him. He can make them happen. And that's also something that we should always keep in mind when we read the scriptures, when we hear the pastimes, is that the Lord ultimately is inconceivable, and we're just getting a glimpse of that we may be able to understand. We're just getting a glimpse of the actual reality, but ultimately only he himself really knows the reality. There's a nice example to describe this idea of when we hear inconceivable things, we don't have a reference point. There's an example that was used that a frog, he lives in a well. Actually, a frog you never see a frog in the ocean. He stays in small bodies of water. And there was another animal that came to the frog and said, "Hey, I saw the ocean. There was so much water." Like that. So what? And then he was comparing it to his well or his pond. What? Like how much? Like 2 times my pond? No, way more. What? Like 10 times? Way more than that. You know, it's like so many ponds. No, that's not true. I've never seen. So sometimes we have a certain measuring stick by which we see the world, and especially the empirist philosophers. Now they have a certain measuring stick to see the world, and they think that they can understand everything according to that measuring stick. But the Supreme Lord is beyond that measuring stick. So ultimately, it's always inconceivable. We don't really have a reference point. We can just understand in essence, but not really in full. And also one thing about his energies that we have to understand, that he has complete control over them. And we make distinctions of his energies. Like in the previous class, we were talking about the internal, marginal, and external energies. And these divisions are there and they exist, but for the Supreme Lord, in one sense, it's just one thing. It's his own energies. It's just like I have a certain amount of energy that, I go throughout the day and I act in a certain way, but these are all my energy, and I spend it throughout the day. But the Supreme Lord has unlimited energy, and he can spend it as he wish in whatever variety of ways. But in one sense, it's one energy. It's his energy. It's just an expansion of himself, and he can do whatever he wants with that energy. Just as an electrician can convert from electricity, can convert heat and cold. Air conditioning. We can either produce heat, or we can either produce cold air, hot air or cold air, and but it's all one energy. So the same way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for him, there's no distinction, material or spiritual. Everything is just his energy. So for him, he can do whatever he wants with them. And that's where the idea of he does as he pleases. And this is going to tie in with the idea of the Achar Vigraha, the different incarnations of the Lord. The Achar Vigraha, which is a particular incarnation of the Lord, and also all his other incarnations. Sometimes you hear stories about his incarnations, like he appeared as a boar and he lifted the earth with his two tusks, or he pierced the universe with his toe, and then the river Ganges came from that. Like these are like far out stories, or from the navel from his navel came a lotus flower, and then all the universes are sprouted from that lotus flower. Like all this is like, what's happening? Like it's like, do you really believe these stories? Like somebody at one point was asking me, so how do you interpret these stories? Do you take them for real? Well, it says, well, if we accept that the Supreme Lord has inconceivable energies, he can do as he wants. And all this actually is he's just doing it for fun. Like all this is his fun, is his Leela. That's what Leela avatars are. The different incarnations that come just for his own pleasure. Sometimes he comes because he has different duties in the world to maintain the universe. So there's like scheduled incarnations. They come at a certain time to make sure that everything's functioning nicely. He can do it through his energies, but he likes to come personally also. But these Leela avatars, he especially comes just for the fun, for a particular purpose. Like we're gonna see later on about Nishingadev. We're going to look into that incarnation a little bit. But one that's very particular is the Achar Vigraha. Is that it looks like a material form, but it's not. It's a spiritual form. And that's a form that he takes, that he accepts to take for our own benefit. Us that are covered by material nature, we want to spiritualize our activities, but because we're just encased in this matter, we can serve him through matter by using matter, by using a form that looks like matter, like of metal. It looks like metal. In one sense it is, but it is infused with spiritual energy. And that's the idea. And it's a way for Supreme Lord to personally accept our service while we are in this material world. We're always wondering, how do we serve him? But that's a very personal way to do it, where you're at right now. The example given for the Achar Vigraha, or the deity form of the Supreme Lord, is like a post office, a post box. If you go to a post box and you put a stamp on your letter and you do everything correctly and you follow the instructions, it's going to reach the destination that you wanted. It's going to reach the goal that you wanted. The recipient of your letter will receive it. But if you just make your own box, make your own system, it won't work. So the Vedas, they authorize a certain form of the Lord, and these forms are not concoctions. They're actually forms that exist for real, and they just give you descriptions of how to do it and the process by which to do it. So if you just follow the instructions, then the service is received. The service you give to Krishna is received. And there's an interesting story also. There's many interesting stories of how Achar Vigraha reciprocated in a way that was very wonderful for our material eyes. And it was, there's many examples, but I'll give one as Shakshi Gopal. The Lord walks and does not walk. The deity seems to be very stationary, but Shakshi Gopal is a story where the deity actually walked to fulfill the promise of a devotee. So long story short, there was two devotees traveling together, a younger one and an older one, and they were going on pilgrimage everywhere. And the older devotee needed help, and the younger devotee helped him a lot throughout his travels. He was so grateful to him. And at that time, the customs, he wanted to arrange for the marriage of his daughter to that boy that helped him so much, out of gratefulness, was like, will you please marry my daughter? I think this would be great, so he said, okay. But he made him to promise that devotee. He kind of knew, because he just made him, okay, let's make a promise in front of the deity of Gopal, of that deity. So he made a promise in front of that, and then they went on and they continued their pilgrimage. Then he went back to their village, and then by pressure of his family, he did not do it. He did not fulfill his promise, the older gentleman, the older devotee. But the younger devotee remembered that promise and says, well, you told me, and I'll go back to the deity. And that's what he did. He went back to the deity very far away, and he said, look, that devotee took his promise. Please, help me be my witness. And that's what Shakshi means. So actually he said, okay. And he gave conditions. It says, well, I'll walk behind you, but don't look. And so he brought the deity, and the deity was walking behind him, and he could hear his bangles going. And everybody was astonished that the deity came to the village and to bear witness, says, yes, he did say the promise. And then they married. Well, what could he do after that, So there's that story there, Shakshi Gopal. And there's many stories like that where deities arranged things and did stuff, reciprocated with their devotees that are sincere. And if we're actually really sincere and really have that faith, then the deity can reciprocate in so many ways. So he walks and he does not walk. So that's one contradiction there. And there's another one about far and very near. The idea is that Krishna is way beyond our material understanding, way beyond the material world, but he can appear within a second for his devotee. That's the idea. And another nice example that I like that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was his appearance day a few days ago, there was a saying from him, says a devotee feels the presence of God everywhere, but one averse to the Lord denies his existence anywhere. So I'll repeat that. A devotee feels the presence of God everywhere, but one averse to the Lord denies his existence anywhere. This is the idea that a devotee can see Supreme Lord outside and inside of everything. In this nice story there of Prahlad Maharaj and his father Hiranyakashipu, they're quite opposites. Prahlad Maharaj was a great pure devotee of Krishna, and Hiranyakashipu was a great demon, very averse to him. And he tried to kill Prahlad in so many ways. And then finally he said, where do you get all this strength? Where do you get all this strength? I've been trying to get rid of you, kill you in so many ways. Where do you get this strength? He says, I get the strength from the Supreme Lord. And where is the Supreme Lord? He says, he's everywhere. He's in your heart as well. And he says, he's in this pillar. And he said, yes, he's there as well. And he smashed the pillar, and then come out of the pillar. There's a tumultuous sound. And out of the pillar came Nishingadev. And what was very particular about Nishingadev is that he fulfilled all the requirements to be able to kill Hiranyakashipu, because actually Hiranyakashipu had tried to devise a means to become immortal. He had taken boons from Lord Brahma. He had performed great austerities and taken boons from Lord Brahma to, he wanted to be immortal. So he got the blessings of Brahma and said, Brahma, I want to be immortal. And Brahma said, I am not myself eternal. I am limited. My lifespan is the lifespan of the universe, and the universe is not eternal. So I cannot grant you this boon of being eternal. He said, okay. And he thought that he figured out a way to do it. So he says, okay, I don't want to be killed the day or the night. I don't want to be killed in the air or on the ground. I don't want to be killed by any man or creature that you've created. I don't want to be killed by something living or something dead. I don't want to be killed inside or outside. And he did all these conditions. And then the Shingadev came out of the pillar. He was half man, half lion. So he was a unique creature. He was not a creature that was created by Lord Brahma. And then they fought, and he actually killed him at dusk. So it was not day, it was not night. He killed him in a doorway. It was not inside, it was not outside. He killed him on his lap, which was not on the ground nor the sky. And he killed him with his nails, which are considered not living and not dead. So he fulfilled all the requirements. So that's again, if Krishna wants you dead, you'll be dead. If Krishna wants you alive, you'll be alive. But the point is that Hiranyakashipu, a great demon, he tried to conceive of a way to exploit material nature and not die. But he could never conceive of a form like that. He could have never conceived of the form that Krishna makes. So if you try to beat Krishna, Krishna will find a way to beat you somehow. Like, it's beyond your capabilities to beat Krishna. You will always have something more there. But the point is that, so he's far, far, far away for a devotee for a demon like Hiranyakashipu, but he's very near for a devotee. So he's far, far away, but he appeared in a second to protect and save Prahlad. So that's the end of my explanations of Mantra 5. Any points? Any questions on this or comments? Want to add anything, Bihat? Okay. The next one is Mantra 6. Okay, let's read it. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and partials, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. I'll repeat it one more time. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and partials, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. So here it talks about the ultimate spiritual vision, seeing everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. And what are the results of that? Is that one is satisfied. He never has hatred for anything or any being. This state of peace and happiness that comes from this spiritual realization. And actually what this is describing, Prabhupada explains in purport that this is the topmost level of spiritual realization. And our vision becomes gradually purified to be at that topmost level. But we will explain the 3 stages of realization of Krishna's presence. And then how that all these understanding of what we see actually comes from the scriptures. Let me start by giving the example for the scriptures. The scriptures, they help us and they guide us to actually see things properly with knowledge. sometimes when you have proper knowledge, you're able to observe things in a better way. Just like now I'm teaching English as a high school teacher. I'm teaching English to one of the students. I do some tutoring in my school. And I'm teaching that student new words, new vocabulary. And those words and the vocabulary, it introduces sometimes concepts that are new to her. So just having those concepts in mind, she's like, oh yeah, I never noticed this, but now like I didn't know that existed. And now she's like, she's going to look for it. Throughout her life, she's going to look at how she's going to use that. She heard it before, and now, okay, when the reality pops up, she has a word for it, or maybe she's able to repair it, to see it. I mean, not repair, but repair it. I'm sorry, my English. Able to see it properly, notice it. So the same thing, the scripture also does that. It gives us a vision to actually see the world and understand it. But it comes from following the previous acharyas. And it does require a little bit of faith sometimes, because you don't always see it at first, but by purifying our vision, purifying our consciousness, we're able to see it more. And just like different species are equipped with different ways of perception, like birds, they're able to see differently. Even the flies see things we don't, or we are limited colors. We have limited colors that we see as human beings. We're all limited in our tools like that. But we can develop tools by which able to see things better, develop our consciousness also. Like sometimes, when I feel like I have not very advanced consciousness and very low, and like my spiritual life hasn't been going well, I see the world through a certain vision, and like there's things I don't notice, and when the modes affect us, when we're under the modes of ignorance and passion, we see the world in a different way. But by developing the mode of goodness and elevating our consciousness, we see things in a whole different light. I think we all had this experience. And when one comes to a spiritual awakening, his vision of the world does change, and it affects how he interacts with them and lives with them. But that comes from following the scriptures, following the recommendations of the previous acharyas. Acharyas mean like exemplary teachers. So following their examples, following their footsteps, we'll be able to see what they see. Because Lord Brahma, for example, Lord Brahma in his prayers in the Brahma Samhita, he describes the form of Krishna. He describes his vision that he saw, and he's trying to relate that to us. We can appreciate it, but by becoming purified, we hope to attain that vision as well. So the topmost vision is that we see everybody as the servant of Krishna. That's Uttama Adhikari. Uttama means topmost. So the Uttama Adhikari, he sees everything. There's no real distinction. Everybody's just part and parcel of Krishna. Everything that happens, these are just material coverings, but he sees the spiritual in everything. So he's not bewildered by material energy, because he sees the big picture. He sees actually ultimately everybody's just serving the Supreme Lord. Because we can compare our whole material existence, although it's millions and trillions of years, the whole material world, but all that is just like a little bleep, a little lightning strike and compared to eternity. No matter how much amount of time we look at, it has a limit. Even if it's super huge, all that is but like, it's nothing compared to eternity, to the unlimited. So a person with that vision, all the material world seems very grand, very big, and it's overpowering people, and they're being covered by material nature. That's nothing compared to the spiritual nature. So a person on topmost level sees that spiritual vision. but then those on, then I'll go to the lower level. Those, the Kanishta means beginner. So the beginner, he's starting to familiarize himself with what the scriptures are saying, and he's starting to have a certain understanding, but it's very basic. It's very basic, and usually they become very attached to that understanding, because actually for them it's their like it's their safe line or safety line. Their safety line, so they're attached to it. You know, they're overcome by material nature, and they come in contact with devotional service or spiritual life, and they have a lifeline, and they hold on to that lifeline. In the very beginning, it's normal that person, to that one concept that they understand of spiritual life, they'll hold to that lifeline, and but their understanding is not very great. So often in that stage, they consider one type of devotion to be better than another. There's many examples in the beginning of the movement where there's conflicts amongst devotees, and Prabhupada would say, no, everybody's just serving Krishna. You know, all service should be appreciated. In that stage, there's a lot of conflict. You know, when we hear about conflict in religion and stuff like that, and how spiritual practitioners have conflict, we can understand that these are all kanishta, all beginners actually, even if they've been practicing for a very long time. Too much conflict and lack of appreciation of another's devotion is a sign of being on the beginner platform, kanishta. And Prabhupada does, yeah, he considers one type of devotion better than another. Thought it was very interesting how Prabhupada worded that. And usually he's very focused on the deity as well, where he just sees, oh, Krishna's only at the temple, you know, Krishna's only there, instead of like him being everywhere. Yes, he is everywhere, and he's especially at the temple, but we should not neglect that he's in everyone's heart and he's everywhere. Like, or he's just in my guru. I'll only listen to my guru, like that. So sometimes they have it like that. And I have like a funny example. We were in a Vancouver temple, and it was part of our morning program. The morning class was there, and we had the audience on one side here, and we had the speaker there on one side. And then you had a gentleman come in, young gentleman. He comes in, and so the audience on one side, the speaker on one side, and then there's the deity here, you know, on the side there. And so he walks in, he doesn't pay obeisances to Prabhupada, which is usually the etiquette. He just walks in, and he's on his cell phone, and he's speaking to, I don't know, whoever, and he walks between the speaker and the audience to go see the deities. And we're all like, don't you see there's a class happening? Like, you come in here making a bunch of noise, and then he's like, what? I came to see Krishna. And then we're like, okay, just do it and get out, you know? But that's okay, whatever. He had some devotion there, but, you know, not very considerate of others or the devotees, just like, it's me and Krishna, and I don't know, whoever's on the cell phone there, but it was just very odd. But sometimes, okay. So that's a perfect example of kanishta. No respect for the devotees, but has some attachment to Krishna. And then comes the Magyam Platform. And the Magyam means intermediary, like the middle, in between, intermediary. So the kanishta has not much knowledge and also doesn't know how to behave. Whereas the Madhyama has more knowledge and more faith, and he knows how to behave. Okay, and what's that behavior? It's very clear. It's very simple. And also Madhyama is considered to be like a good practitioner of spiritual life. He's on the path. He's sincerely endeavoring. and he puts in effort in the spiritual life. So he makes progress, and he makes progress by doing these four things, amongst plenty of other things, but it's how he behaves. So he gives his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Krishna. He gives his friendship to the devotees, those that are also dedicated to spiritual life. He gives his compassion to innocent people, that are ignorant of spiritual life, but they could benefit from spiritual life. So he gives compassion in that way. And he avoids, or he's indifferent to those averse to Krishna or the Supreme Lord. Now, why would you want to spend time with these people when they'll just bring you down, or they're not receptive? Like what you just said, don't throw pearls at swines. Don't give something valuable to people that can't appreciate it. So those people, we kind of we're indifferent. Why would you want to hang out with them? So a devotee trying to develop his love for Krishna acts in that way. And I remember when I started practicing spiritual life, becoming serious about Krishna consciousness, I lost interest to be with my friends who were talking about girls and drugs or whatever, their life was, I didn't want to relate with that type of life anymore. And I remember one time I went and visited them and they said, "Hey, Damodar, we're happy you did something with your life." Like in the way they're saying, like, we're just doing nothing. We're going nowhere. We're just following our senses wherever. It was especially at the time where because I joined when I was 17, I was not 18 yet, and they just turned 18, so they were legally able to do all types of things like going to strip clubs and drinking, and you could just feel their energy. Like I had gone for a year and I came back, just feel their energy was like so heavy and like they were like zombies. Their life was not great, and I was like full of of like spiritual energy because of that friendship I developed with the devotees. And actually I can just talk from personal experience that my friendship I made with the devotees has carried me throughout my spiritual life. Like without that friendship, I would be nowhere. It created my devotion, and it sustains my devotion to Krishna. And the point of compassion also is just we want to make the circle bigger. We want to make our circle of friends bigger. So that's the point of compassion. Is those people who might be able to receive the message or innocent in their own way. It's not that we're shoving it in their faces, but it's beneficial for us, and we want to help others. Now, if it helped me, it can help others. Like I was thinking the other day is that, okay, I'm not a great person. I have many faults, but practicing Krishna consciousness really helped me. And if everybody in the world was, I'm not saying practicing like I did because my practice is not that great, but if everybody was like at least doing the lifestyle I would do, it would be really good for the world. Like I'm not smoking, I'm not drinking, like I'm not, maybe I could be better on my recycling or whatever to save the earth. But I mean, it's a pretty good standard by the grace of the Association of Devotees. It was like, hey, so why not? Like I could help others come to that standard, All that to say that compassion to others is also helpful, and also it helps us in our own spiritual life. Trying to help others come elevated, and not that I'm elevated because of my own doing. I'm elevated because I have the good fortune of having devotee friends. So I want to bring other people to that association. And then you have the Uttamadhikari. Let's go back to him, the topmost devotee. He has the full realization. He's not just theory anymore. It's fully realized. We discussed philosophy a year, and we're talking about we should see like that, we should do it like that, and it makes our own logic. We explain it logically so we can convince ourselves and like that, and hopefully our faith is going to grow from that. But he has full faith because he experiences it. He's on that level where for him it's not theory, it's a reality. The Uttamadhikari, so he sees it, and so sometimes that's where his behavior might not be totally exemplary. Not that we can imitate that platform, but because he's beyond, he's transcended. You may not follow the norms of society, a person on that topmost level. Because how would he, why would he show compassion to others? Why would he discriminate between this person or that person? Because they're all, in one sense, they're all part and parcel of Krishna. So a person on that Uttamadhikari actually doesn't know how to behave in the material world. Because he's on another platform. So that actually, you have sometimes some personalities like that, and they're called, like we have like Gorkishore Das Babaji, and also Jagannath Das Babaji. It's a term, Babaji. Sometimes they're like on that topmost platform. It's not that we can imitate and it's not by wearing a dress and behaving in a certain way that we are on that level, but they've attained that level of sainthood that they're beyond, they're like renunciants that don't follow the norms of society. So that's why it's described that a person may be on the level of Uttama, but he will descend on the level of Madhyama in behavior and able to share Krishna consciousness, and help others. So if a person's on the platform of complete sainthood, like where's the need of helping others if you see everybody as a servant of Krishna? You have to be able you have to discriminate, and discrimination's on the platform of a Madhyamadhikari. So sometimes it says that a person, like a pure saint, like for example Prabhupada, we consider him on the Uttamadhikari, and he displayed the symptoms of that, but he behaves in an exemplary way to teach everyone. So sometimes the Uttama descends on the Madhyama platform, not in understanding, but in behavior. Yeah, I am shouting a little bit loud. Yeah. I'm speaking a little bit too loud. I'm a little bit too enthusiastic. So on that note, I've kind of said, there's one last point here, is that this platform of Uttama, of equal vision, it cannot be artificially imitated. And it also, sometimes there's this philanthropic idea that, like serving everyone is serving God, or that equal oneness is just we're all one humanity. Yes, like there's truth to that, we're all part of this world, but that's still mundane in the sense that it's not the ultimate understanding. The animals are also part of Krishna, and it's not just the earth, it's the whole universe. Everybody is part of Krishna, and that's a proper understanding. That's on the spiritual platform. Actually, these are just material coverings, but ultimately everybody's a spirit soul. So this false idea that there's a oneness in the material vision of things, it's limited because we're all different. It's like Prabhupada said in one letter, nature made us different, but we cause discrimination. A bad discrimination in this sense. There's good discrimination also, like where we ignore these people and we help these people and like that. But in the discrimination of the fact that we categorize things, oh, this is good, this is bad, but that's us. You know, nature has created difference, but we decide this is good, this is bad. But all that is material, because there is difference on the material platform. You know, a man cannot do what a bird does. A bird cannot do what a man does. But on the spiritual platform, everybody eternally is the spirit soul, and he's just covered by these different bodies that have different conditioning or different. Sometimes the body suffers, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's in a body that's very limited and has lots of suffering, but that is temporary. Ultimately, we're all not necessarily, we're all not in brotherhood of humanity, but we're in servanthood of Krishna. So this idea that ultimately the best welfare work that one can do is to help someone be on the spiritual platform. Now, if we want to do good for humanity, we want to open so many hospitals. That's a material vision. The best thing is a hospital for the soul. Get people out of this material world and into the service of Krishna. That's like the spiritual vision. Everybody can have an opportunity to serve Krishna because there's no limitation to that. And we should try to connect everybody to Krishna as much as possible. In a smart way, not doing it in a way that annoys people. But that's the idea. That's the vision of that we try to develop. This oneness in Krishna. Not that everything is one. There's different things. We're all parts and parcels of Krishna, but oneness and purpose. And oneness, and purpose to serve Krishna. We are all servants of Krishna. Okay. I finished on time. So what I do is I open it for questions here, and then I like to give, either I'll end the meeting earlier, so to give you time to do the homework. Encourage you to do the homework, especially those who've registered officially, and so it fits within the hour that we have from 7 to 8. I know we all have busy lives, so try to keep it within that hour. So that's why I like to give a little bit of time for the homework. Any questions or comments? Riyad, would you like to add anything?
Just if anybody has any questions first.
I didn't know I spoke so clearly.
The topics they continue on into the next mantra, which we'll be dealing with next week. And I just wanted to this particular point about the second point here, anupashiti, about how to see. This is definitely a theme that comes out in Isopanisad from the very beginning, because it mentions how, like, we as human beings, our senses are limited, and our ability to see things is limited, and we can see that all the time. Scientific discoveries are happening. People are discovering more and more things. So this vision that we're are essentially based on that method, trusting our senses, which is the scientific method, then we have a limited understanding of reality. So the idea is that the Vedic or the Vedas, they give the vision from God's perspective. So that has to be taken with a little bit of faith. We may not accept it right away, but we can at least theoretically, we say, okay, that's what it is. Okay, so they say the Vedas is from the perspective of God. The idea is that he created the whole material world, so he knows how it works. So his vision is actually a complete vision of how things work. And so, okay, I'll theoretically accept it, and then we can read the Vedas and see all the things that are there. So this is the Isopanisad, and then we can actually take these things, practically apply them in our lives, and then see if it actually has the result that it says it's going to have, or we experience the things that it says it says that we're going to experience, or develop the vision it says we're going to develop, or follow the things that the Vedas say, and does it work, does it not work? So this anupashiti, seeing things not with our own eyes, which are limited, but seeing things from the perspective of, well, here is the acharyas, or the self-realized souls, and also from the Vedas are from the God's perspective. So we can theoretically accept that, and then work on, or see if it comes through to its proper conclusion, see if it actually works. I just bringing that up because this is also, it's a theme of the Upanishad, and it's also something that's coming up in the next mantra as well.
Yeah, and also at the end, in the prayers, it does talk about seeing the Supreme Lord, God's glaring effulgence. This topic of seeing is important. Thank you.
We just have so much faith in modern society, we have so much faith in our own faculties of understanding, of seeing, and our whole civilization is based on that. And we can see that the result of that is that sometimes things work and sometimes there's big problems. So the Vedas is giving a different perspective and a different way of doing things.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I want to remind everybody that the homework is on the resource page. I think you all know how to access it. And we're doing with class number 3 here. And these are the questions here. I'll let you do that on your own time. And is there any questions on this? If not, I'm going to end here. So thank you very much. Spasiba. Kamsahamnidad. Hare Krishna. Merci beaucoup.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Take care.
To the next time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.